Anna has died. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Police say the gunman took his own life after shooting 5 people to death.
North Las Vegas police revealing shooting suspect Eric Adams died by suicide after refusing to drop his firearm while being confronted by officers in the backyard of a home. Officials had launched an overnight search for the 57-year-old they say fatally shot 5 people and critically injured a 13-year-old girl Monday night, not sharing a motive. The injured teen taken to a hospital. Officers say they found 2 women dead while investigating reports of gunfire at an apartment complex, saying one of the victims was in her early 40s and the other in her late 50s. Later, finding the bodies of 2 other women in their mid-20s and a man in his early 20s.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has arrived at a federal courthouse in Saipan ahead of his expected guilty plea in a deal with the U.S. Justice Department that will set him free to return to his native Australia. Assange has agreed to plead guilty to conspiracy after he published tens of thousands of classified documents on his site dating back to 2009. The Biden administration is appealing court rulings blocking parts of the president's student loan forgiveness plan.
Federal judges in Kansas and Missouri have put parts of President Biden's student loan repayment plan on hold, a temporary win for Republican attorneys general challenging the Education Department's authority to wipe away debt. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the Justice Department will appeal the decisions blocking provisions of the SAVE plan. In a statement, she says the administration will use every tool available to give students and borrowers relief they need. More than 8 million borrowers have enrolled in the SAVE plan since last summer.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. The FDA warning Bimbo bakeries, which include Sara Lee, Oro Wheat, and Entenmann's, to stop labeling foods as containing allergens when they don't. America is listening to Fox News.
Hi. 93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Why an officer shot their gun. I'm Harrison Silcox. Here's what's trending this hour. A police chase and shots fired on the northeast side of Indianapolis Tuesday afternoon. Anthony Patterson's a sergeant with IMPD.
So just after 3 p.m. today, officers were responding to a report of an active shooter in the 9,000 block of Wesleyan Boulevard.
That's a building in an office park and near the pyramids. Patterson says they found one person shot there. That person's in stable condition. They then chased a car because the driver refused to stop. That led to an officer firing their gun on Maple Leaf Lane near Castleton Square Mall. No officers were hurt in the shooting. IMPD says as of Tuesday evening, they've still got a lot to cover in the investigation. A man died after a police shooting in Fort Wayne last Saturday. That, too, started with a traffic stop. Body cam footage shows an FWPD officer approaching the car and asking the passenger to put his hands in the dash.
Put your hands on the dash. Yes, sir. No one reach around. You understand me?
Yes, sir. I understand.
Of course, I want to take another car, please. 62s. Keep your hands on the dash. You reach down there again, and I will shoot you.
Video shows the man taking his hands off the dash several times, at one point appearing to reach for a semi-automatic pistol on the floor. That's when the officer began shooting. The suspect was ID'd as Linzel Parm. And the organization InVets helps veterans transition from military to civilian life. They've partnered with IndyCar driver Stingray Robb.
They don't want that time to be transactional. They want it to be transformational. So I've kind of seen the benefits of that in my own life and career.
80 cents of every dollar you donate goes directly to the mission, which helps veterans find careers and the help they may need. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Here's your forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
Low temperatures falling into the upper 60s for tonight. Tomorrow, scattered showers and storms possible late in the day into the overnight. High temperatures getting into the lower 90s. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Ryan Morse for 93 WIBC.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing.
I don't have any cravings.
You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Early bird special, only $49.99 guaranteed. No irritability, no cravings, because don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars Thursday, July 25th at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Or Saturday, July 27th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites Indianapolis Northeast and Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com. LifeChurchNorthern.com.
Hey, this is Pastor Micah Beckwith.
And I'm Pastor Nathan Peternell.
And we serve at Life Church, and we got a podcast that we wanted to tell you about called Jesus, Sex, and Politics.
Yeah, you know all those things that the culture doesn't want to talk about that will scare you? Yeah, that's our bread and butter. We love it.
We're going to equip you on how to defend conservative constitutional values based in God's Word in this podcast. So tune in to Jesus, Sex, and Politics,
wherever you get your podcasts.
Did somebody say free diamond bracelet? That's right. Diamonds Direct is expanding upon their best offer yet. Make any purchase this month and receive a free diamond tennis bracelet valued at $2,000. That's right. Any engagement ring, any diamond necklace, any timepiece. Purchase any item valued at $10,000 or more and receive a stunning diamond tennis bracelet at no extra cost. Every purchase of $10,000 or more qualifies. So hurry into Diamonds Direct. Your chance to get a free tennis bracelet ends June 30th. Details at diamondsdirect.com.
Tony Katz.
It's Kendall and Casey.
The Hammer and Nigel show. All right, well, when does your show start? Do we know? I feel like I've been promoting this for 9 years now.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Good evening and welcome to the Tony Kinnett Cast. I'm Tony Kinnett here on 93 WIBC. The world is currently shoveling as much gunpowder as it can into a wooden keg that is sitting precariously close to a bonfire. There is a lot that is going on around the world right now that should hold the concerns of the officials in the United States tasked with overseeing safety in the international community. This would be the Department of Homeland Security. This would be the Department of Health and Human Services. This would be the CIA. This would be the FBI. This would be the NSA. This would be the DOJ, as well as the Department of Defense. There are a series of very important steps that need to be taken from the State Department over to the FDA to make sure that the rest of the world's insanity does not affect the lives and the work of American citizens. Hezbollah is ramping up strikes against northern Israel. Lebanon so far has been very weird and radio silent. I say weird because there's currently some struggles with Christian rebels in the nation as well. It's a very unstable part of the Middle East, but you know, what isn't? The Iranian regime is threatening to launch a full-scale war against Israel, again, a day ending in Y. Russia is shaking its fist at the United States over an alleged drone strike. European nations are finally setting the chessboard for the fight, and it will be a fight, between right-leaning parties and the recent influx of Shia fundamentalist Islamic migrants who have separated themselves off in many areas, made police no-go zones. That is, when the actual members of parliament aren't the very radical Shia Islamists who are fomenting this kind of insanity. So much so that Prime Minister good old Pierre Macron is saying that if France does not actually move forward with electing what he calls to be centrist parties, which is very far to the left, Emmanuel makes the case that France could see civil war, which, again, you know, it's France, so days ending in Y. And then China on Friday outlined a list of behaviors that it defines as criminal acts related to supporting Taiwanese independence. They have stated that punishments could go as far as the death penalty. So according to the Taipei Times, top legal bodies in the CCP, including its Supreme Court, national prosecutors, and 3 government ministries, jointly issued specific statements in which they informed courts and prosecutors at all levels within the communist nation to severely punish Taiwanese independent diehards. Not to mention the increase in naval exercises. This is the time for the United States to show significant strength, to show stalwart leadership, so that no matter what occurs in the country and abroad, we have a leader that works to make sure that American interests are indeed put first. And this is a time when the President of the United States should indeed be strong, so that he cannot be pushed around or ignored by the rest of the community when the decisions that the rest of the international nations are going to make is going to severely impact those here in the United States, not just economically with international trade, but of course with the illegal immigration crisis, as well as the safety of Americans home and abroad. So what does the Biden administration decide is where we need all of our focus and attention right now? Well, The Department of Health and Human Services designated Christians as unfit to be foster parents. This is broken by Megan Basham over at the Daily Wire. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, on April 29th, they finalized a rule that will require foster parents to affirm LGBTQ plus 2IA whatever children in order to stay in their home. So if a child has a mental illness, now you are required to affirm the mental illness until it reaches its ultimate conclusion, most likely being suicide, in order to be a foster parent, which is patently insane. So according to the HHS.gov on April 29th, it said to be considered a designated placement for children, the placement must satisfy 3 conditions. This is now federal regulation. Number 1, the provider must commit to establishing an environment that supports a child's LGBTQI+ status or identity, and the provider must be trained with the appropriate knowledge and skills to provide for the needs of the child related to the child's self-identified sexual orientation. What children out there? Is it normal to have sexual orientation? What on earth are you talking about? Anyway, sexual orientation, as well as gender identity, gender expression, which again is weird because I thought traditional gender roles like were bad, right? That like boys can play with Barbies and girls can play with G.I. Joes. I guess gender expression. Anyway, and then activities that support their health and well-being. Well, not according to the actual biological data and the science, because the biological data and the science says that if you lean into the mental illness of transgenderism, then you have a higher risk of depression and suicide. That it just so happens that when you treat a mental illness as something that can be wildly affirmed into, you get serious issues. The Biden campaign, however, President Biden, how is he spending his time when his cabinet members are off doing God knows what? Well, he's preparing for his debate on Thursday with Donald Trump, which is funny because you would think that if the president was so together and had everything, all set in stone and ready to go, and he was in command of the entire situation in this global catastrophe, then perhaps he would maybe say the debate's a little less important. Right now, what we really need to focus on is making sure that Americans feel safe and sound. No. He has shut himself up in Camp David, and according to the New York Times, he has constructed with his team mock debate sets in aircraft hangars, and debate sets is plural, so that President Biden can practice with his lawyer. I'm sorry. I've practiced for a lot of debates and speeches and various things that involve public speaking. I never had to construct a mock set. How bad is the president of the United States that he could get jolted out of practicing, realizing that he's actually in an aircraft hangar and not on the debate stage at CNN Studio in Atlanta? On the other side of that, by the way, Trump is currently demanding that Biden takes a drug test. According to Henry Rogers over at the Daily Caller, senior Trump advisor Chris LaCivita tells reporters on a press call that Biden will be filled with Adderall during the first presidential debate, and claimed that Biden was on Adderall during his last State of the Union address. Some kind of stimulant, some kind of amphetamine is likely coursing through the president of the United States veins. The problem is that we're reaching a series of diminishing returns. So that especially the older you get and the more the myelin sheath around the connections of the neurons becomes eroded away, which is what happens during dementia, the less that any kind of stimulant works to kind of increase the amount of chemicals that the body's cells can inhibit. Basically, your body takes in less hormones the more and more you take a stimulant because it expects it's going to get a boatload of stimulant hormones. So it's very likely, everyone knows that Donald Trump is clearly on something. Of course he is. He very clearly has dementia. Why wouldn't he be on something? I would have concerns if he weren't. But yeah, it is right for Trump to request a drug test and say, yeah, he would submit to one as well. This certainly cuts across the narrative from many of the mainstream media that say Trump is just as bad as Biden and that he also takes just as many meds as Biden. It's a very weird deflection point. But aside from those things, that's where the Biden-Harris campaign's focus is right now, because the U.S. Surgeon General, on the other hand, decided that today was the day. The U.S. Surgeon General, like the guy who talks about heart disease and smoking and like actual health issues. Well, the Surgeon General decided that, again, amidst the world crisis right now, what we really needed to talk about is this new advisory on
Hello, I'm U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy. Today, for the first time in the history of our office, I am issuing a Surgeon General's advisory on firearm violence. It outlines the urgent threat firearm violence poses to the health and well-being of our country. As a doctor, I've seen the consequences of firearm violence up close in the lives of the patients I've cared for over the years.
I'm sorry, I'm going to cut across this little emotional story here real quick. Gun violence is not a health issue. It's not. It's a character and a behavior issue. I hate to tell you this, guys, but I've seen a lot of pianos fall on people in cartoons. None of those were health issues. They were actually hurt by standing under the piano. Your health has nothing to do with whether or not a gunshot might kill you. I mean, where it hits you is primarily the most important. You don't see car accidents like fender benders listed as a health advisory in the United States. It's such political theater so that the Biden administration can cite some kind of medical experts as saying that guns are actually a danger to health and humanity. That's absolutely silly, and it's not going to convince the country, especially when, again, when it comes to giving the citizens of Ukraine firearms, everyone seems to be for it. But then when it actually comes to allowing people in the United States to defend themselves from the supermajority of gun violence, which occurs in gun-free zones, this kind of goofiness that the Biden administration doesn't call out is rather transparent to Americans. There's not actually anything here that is being recommended that is useful. Well, there's a lot of other weird hires other than this goober for Surgeon General that we'll be talking about in just a little bit. But first, we're going to talk to Stephen Kent with a little bit of Whatcha Watchin. Stick around. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
Alec Baldwin and his wife and their 7 kids are going to star in a new reality show on TLC.
Alec Baldwin, to this very day, has still killed more people than anybody that stormed into the United States Capitol on January 6th. That is a fact. And he's getting a reality show? It's disgusting.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Mike loves summer in Indy, but he hates to paint, so he called Rhino Shield.
Our home is basically a contemporary, and we just started noticing that the paint was just fading and just looked like garbage. We had received a postcard from Rhino Shield, and we decided to take a look at it.
Rhino Shield's formulated for our specific climate here in Indiana.
The process with Rhino Shield and their crew, they were just very conscientious. We had problems in the past with painters. They leave debris and everything. Well, we didn't have that with Rhino Shield.
Way better than paint, backed by a 25-year warranty. And right now, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 10% off the regular price.
The thing about the Rhino Shield, the heat gain has been reduced, and we save $70 a month. You don't hear that about any type of paint.
Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
This offer is limited, so call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint.
Don't vinyl.
Go Rhino!
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Before I was adopted, I felt alone.
I felt nervous that I wouldn't have a family.
I was getting older and older. I didn't think I was going to get adopted.
With help from the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption, Lexi, Connor, and LaShawna now have a forever family and the foundation for a bright future.
When I was adopted, it was like, wow, I get to settle, and this is permanent.
After I was adopted, I felt happy.
Adoption changed me for the better. I feel like I can be whoever I want to be.
Every child deserves a safe, loving, and permanent home. Help the Dave Thomas Foundation for Adoption find forever families for children who have been lingering in foster care the longest. Learn more at davethomasfoundation.org.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and I'm a big fan of Zerorez because their platinum cleaning systems are truly the best you can find. If you've been waiting for the deal from Zerorez, it's here, it's now. 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $119. Wow! Those Zerorez systems will safely and effectively remove all the deeply embedded dirt, dander, and pollen, and nasty bacteria in your carpets and floors. The reason I know this is because of the patented ZR water difference. ZR water uses no soap, leaves no residue, and there are no harsh chemicals because they just aren't needed to get things really clean. That's why Zero Res is my go-to carpet cleaning company, because I know they can really get rid of all of the uglies. Now mention WIBC and get the June bonus of 3 rooms of carpet cleaning starting at $119, which is the lowest offer I've seen to Zero Resify your home. Don't miss this one. Call 317-388-5141. Book things online at ZeroResIndy.com.
Hi, I'm Henry Winkler. My eyes are very important to me. My eyes connect me with everything I love. I loved my late father-in-law dearly. He always lit up a room, but his vision dimmed with age. He had age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. And since partnering with Apellis, I've learned there's an advanced form of dry AMD called geographic atrophy, or GA. His struggle with vision loss made me want to help others know about GA's warning signs. For some, colors appear dull or washed out. For others, hazy or blurred vision make it hard to see details, like fine print on price tags. Many have trouble seeing in the dark, making driving at night difficult. GA gets worse over time and cannot be reversed. If you think you have GA, don't wait. Treatments are available. Ask a retina specialist about FDA-approved treatments for GA and go to GAWon'tWait.com.
Hey, this is Spencer Thompson at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus. Now through Monday, it's our inventory reduction sale. Take up to an extra 20% off the already low sale price on in-stock goods. Plus, huge discounts on special orders from Lazy Boy, Smith Brothers, Hollywood, Berlin Gardens, and Lift Chairs. We guarantee the best price, the best service, and free delivery only at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Before I got jacked, I was on the same track. Back up.
It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. We're joined by Stephen Kent because it's Tuesday with Whatcha Watchin. He's from the Consumer Choice Center. He watches the things and he delivers some steaming hot takes on steaming hot piles of garbage, like Star Wars Acolytes, the show that is, what did you say? It providing gender pronouns to space animals? What is this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Disney had the courage to, the quote unquote courage to bring out they them pronouns for a Star Wars live action show. They didn't. Tony, get a grip, but they didn't even have the gumption to apply it to a human character. We have a they them gerbil who can speak. Star Wars The Acolyte. We've come a long way from George Lucas's Star Wars, I think.
Just tens, 20s, 30s, millions of dollars into this show, and they're so the actual quote, and I had to pull it up because I haven't seen any of this yet. I heard that the actress who played Trinity dies within the first 20 minutes of the show, and who they had put in every advertisement, and I was like, oh, okay. And obviously the director, creative person, whatever her name is, who likes to talk about how gay Star Wars is. Mm-hmm. Anyway, aside from all that, this is the quote. So, unsure of what to make of the encounter, I'm citing an article from boundingintocomics.com. Osha proceeds to ask Jecki, who is that? To which the Jedi positively replies, that's Basil or Basil, depending on the accent they use. Mm-hmm. And then, still curious about her new acquaintance, Osha then begins to ask, quote, is he, end quote, before correcting herself, quote, or they with us, end quote.
Yes.
So, and talking about a gerbil in a robe.
Yes, it's a talking mechanic gerbil of some kind. Very fascinating stuff. This is a strange show, and I have said a couple of times, I like it, like it's watchable, but it's a remarkably low tier Star Wars product. I'm gonna spell out an analogy for you. The Mandalorian is good television. It's well-made Star Wars TV. I think it very much belongs in its Western vibe on AMC. It could, I think, be a Star Wars show that comes after a season of Breaking Bad, you know?
Okay.
And then Andor, in its sort of spy thriller drama style, very much feels like Homeland from Showtime. It feels like it belongs on Showtime as a drama.
That's a very, very good point.
Ahsoka has mythical qualities. It feels very much like an HBO Game of Thrones type program, even down to the way that it's shot and edited. But The Acolyte feels like it's from Freeform, which if you've never heard of Freeform, it's because you're not 13 years old and obsessed with Twilight and vampire young adult fiction. Freeform is just sort of a garbage, low-tier ABC spinoff for teen programming, typically trashy romance involving wizards and vampires.
Oh, like the Degrassi and that kind of
something
garbage
like
teen
that.
content.
You know, where you have like a bunch of really attractive teens who all use they them pronouns, right? Like
so like if Buffy the Vampire Slayer was written by a really unpopular dork in middle school.
Yeah, something like that. And The Acolyte, the vibe feels like it belongs on that channel. And it's something about the actors, it's something about the casting, like the hyper attention to diverse casting where they really just like went overboard on their
like
approach.
filling a quota.
Yeah, and it just, that's what it feels like.
So there's one other thing that I'm going to point out about the show that caught me off guard when I heard people complaining about it. And that is that the Nemoidians, that is, if you've seen The Phantom Menace in the first Star Wars movie, you have the two amphibian lizard guys who run the droid army. And they talk in what sounds like a very bad Asian stereotype accent. And it drew a little bit of criticism at the time, but given that probably everyone doesn't speak British English in a galaxy far, far away, you know, just kind of went away. But they took that accent away from those aliens in this particular series, and it drew criticism. And I was thinking about that because that's kind of an interesting thing to kind of whitewash out of the show, suggesting that somewhere in the Star Wars universe, there is like space China, where I guess people do talk in those accents, and I guess that's disrespectful to them.
But I thought that was just representation, right? Like, are you telling me there are people in the real world that don't speak with Chinese accents? I've never understood this.
I don't actually think when I was watching it as a kid that I thought, oh, that's an Asian accent. I just thought that dude has no tongue or nose and he can't make like the R sound. Like, oh, okay. It never occurred to me that was some kind of a stereotype until I saw some angry essay about it.
You didn't grow up watching World War II movies about the Pacific Front, my friend. So you failed in your own childhood.
My dad absolutely showed me Bridge Over the River Kwai, for the record. And it was and is a phenomenal movie. But here's the reason I bring this up to you. Do you ever watch Family Matters?
Well, yes, I did back in the day. It's been a long time.
My wife and I are rewatching some old sitcoms because some of the modern ones are just awful. There's this show that has, I can't remember his name, but Schmidt from New Girl, I guess called The Neighborhood. And there's so much like woke bowing to each other the entire time. It ruins the social. We went back and we watched Family Matters, and it's a stellarly written sitcom. It is just chef's kiss, beautiful. And they do some things in the show that are not technically, I guess, super political correct. At one point, Steve Urkel invents some kind of transformation chamber that he and the dad, Carl, step into, and they come out as Bruce Lee. Like their DNA has been fused with the Kung Fu fighter, Bruce Lee. And they have his hair, and they talk like him. And it is a very stereotypical situation, but it's not done disrespectfully, like to make Bruce Lee look stupid. That's just how Bruce Lee spoke. And so when they were kicking the butt of these gang members that they're fighting from this biker gang that had them surrounded, because, again, fused with Bruce Lee's DNA, it was really funny because they're like saying all of his catchphrases, and it was really funny. And I think about that, and I think about this, and it's two of the same situation that, first of all, I don't think that Family Matters could be made today. And number two, I think that we really have lost the ability to make a lot of decent jokes and comedy writing because we're terrified of possibly being accused of stereotyping or something like that. What do you think?
Well, it's absolutely true. And you know what you're talking about right there falls right into the category of sort of race bending when it comes to how actors might perform on screen. And we know for a fact that actors today are uncomfortable doing this. They will be the subject of scorn on Twitter. And, you know, the Star Wars example is a wonderful one. Episode 1 stumbled into not one, but 3 different racial controversies, ranging from the accents of the Nemoidian aliens being Chinese or Japanese in nature. You had Jar Jar Binks sort of speaking with I don't know, like a Haitian, kind of accent himself. And then you had the third one being Watto, the junk dealer on Tatooine, having a long nose and being grubby about money. And this was an interesting one to me, where does stereotype and originality, where do they always have to be infused? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can't have a character who is grubby about money unless you adjust the size of their nose.
That's weird. I thought because of his accent, you were going to say it was like Italian. Hey, he's going to win at the race.
No,
I get what you're saying now. I understand the stereotype, but
anti-Semitic trope.
I get that.
Trope. And you go like, okay, so in order to avoid anti-Semitic tropes, you have to like make sure that your banker character has a tiny nose.
Which is, it's like overcompensating, and it ends up becoming very, very weird. It's like if you have a character who is, for example, if you have a character in a show who happens to be a lesbian, you can't show them looking butch because otherwise they're going to accuse you of stereotyping.
Tony, remember the bankers in Harry Potter?
The goblins. Yeah.
Yeah. J.K. Rowling was accused of this too, where her bankers were goblins or some sort of weird looking creature. And so then she for years has to fend off criticism of, well, the Nazis, dehumanized the Jews and the financial.
Or that she had called Cho Chang. She had called her Cho Chang because, that was a stereotype.
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys do realize that like Chinese people do have the name Chang in some places in the world.
Yeah.
Kind of a common thing.
It's a real name.
Guys, that's okay. Like, it's okay to say there's someone in your school who has Chinese family. That's all right. Oh no, her name's not Cho Johnson. What a shame. So anyway, all the pearl clutching aside, I wanted to throw that at you. I know we're running a little short. But it's good to hear, at least if you're thinking about going and watching some old sitcoms, do so, because it's a lot better than some of the weird shows that are out now. Stephen Kent from Consumer Choice Center, thanks so much for coming on as you do for Whatcha Watchin'.
Always a pleasure. May the force be with you, Tony.
You as well, without the pronouns. We'll be back in just a second. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Right now, you get bonus days to save during Window Nation's semi-annual sale now through June 30th. Getting quality, affordable windows is a really big deal. They've extended their sale, giving you 50% off all windows along with 0% interest for 5 years. Plus, when you schedule an estimate now, you'll get a bonus 10% off. Are your old windows ready to handle the summer heat? If you're tired of paying high utility bills for air conditioning this summer, your windows aren't efficient, and that's a big deal.
And with Window Nation's semi-annual sale, you can replace your windows and save a big deal too. Hurry, this is only for this month. Get 50% off all windows plus 0% interest for 5 years. You also get bonus savings if you schedule your appointment today. This sale ends June 30th, so time is a factor. No obligation in-home estimates with the pros at Window Nation. Schedule it right now. 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com.
If you can't get a good night's sleep, let me ask you, are you breathing well? Because if you're snoring or waking up each night with a stuffed up nose, or frustrated with your CPAP mask, the root of your sleep problem lies in your breathing triangle. And if any one of those passages isn't working, you won't sleep well. And there's no mattress, pill, or other gimmick that can fix that. I'm Dr. Madan Kandula. A recipe for a good night's sleep starts with an open airway. Now, there are devices that can help solve snoring or sleep apnea problems. If you walk into a sleep center, know you'll walk out with a CPAP. And you might find other options elsewhere, but the simple truth is, if your nose doesn't work properly, no device will help. Only at Advent will you find every effective snoring and sleep apnea solution, along with a world-class team that can get your nose working properly again.
Go to adventknows.com to schedule your appointment, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
The Indiana Derby is one of the best days of summer. It's the state's biggest horse racing event with over $1 million in total purse money on the line. This is Racing Rachel inviting you to Horseshoe Indianapolis, Saturday, July 6th for all the fun. The 30th running of the Indiana Derby has a loaded race card with 8 premier races featuring some of the nation's top 3-year-old thoroughbreds. And off track at Horseshoe Indianapolis, we've got loads of other Derby Day entertainment for fans too, like a free cigar rolling station for the first 500 people, a $1,000 hat contest, a handicapping contest, plus mega bet drawing, magic mirror selfie station, food trucks, and more. All ages are welcome, plus admission is free. So is parking. First post time is noon, and racing goes rain or shine with plenty of seating both indoors and out. So join us for the 30th Indiana Derby, July 6th at Horseshoe Indianapolis. Just off I-74 in Shelbyville. Come on out and have a day.
Hey, it's Big Joe for your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer, Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. Kevin Reinhardt says this family-owned business has a lot of pride in their work.
Danny started the business back in 1986 here in Danville, and we take a lot of pride in the town of Danville with a lot of repeat customers, people that I've known basically all my life. And it's just nice to continue to do the service that they trust for over 30 years.
You can trust Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, 317-745-4526. Reinhardt is your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
We may be thousands of miles apart, but we can still connect. And when we do, we make things better. At Child Fund, we connect children all around the world with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. Together, we co-create connections that help millions of children who live in poverty worldwide, and their families, and their communities, and you. Join us. Together, we can make the world a better place. 2 small worlds at a time. Visit childfund.org to learn more.
Up to 50% off on all of our windows and doors, plus 12 months, no payments, no interest. It's our great granddaddy of a sale.
This is the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast. I'm Tony Kinnett, and I am, unfortunately, I'm not a diversity hire. I know that's disappointing to many of you. It's shocking. I guess I'm kind of a diversity hire. I am federally registered as a member of the Cherokee tribe. But, a lot of individuals aren't. And I know that you out there may not be as exciting of a diversity hire as I am. And so, it's important that we really work through these things together, because racial and genderal and sexual quotas are very, very important to our country. After all, we did go through the entire civil rights movement to get rid of those, but the Biden administration is very passionate about making sure the first thing you do when you start hiring for anyone is you get out the checklist to make sure that you have the exact number of allowed colors and genitals and people who like those various genitals. That's what you got to have. God forbid you actually hire someone who, knows how to run the job. Then you might actually get a transportation secretary who understands how planes, trains, boats, and cars work, instead of, taking $5 billion and only building 7 or 8 electric vehicle charging stations with said money. But enough about good old Secretary Pete Buttigieg with his transportation experience being the mayor of South Bend, Indiana, because the White House has hired a new communications staffer. I mean, look, we all understand right now that the Biden administration's kind of got a pretty serious communication issue, one of many. And look, maybe what you need is an individual who can really connect with average Americans and really reassure them that this administration is working to make sure that everyone's needs are met and that their concerns are understood no matter what side of the political aisle they're on. So what the Biden administration decided to do was, if you ever seen the movie Napoleon Dynamite, there is the brother of Napoleon, his name is Kip. And He's this like small, very gaunt, nerdy guy, balding in the back, big mustache. And he marries this girl named LaFonda, who he meets through an online chat room. If those two had a baby, or maybe if Weird Al Yankovic had a kid who robbed the women's sections of a TJ Maxx, that is what the new comms staffer that the White House has hired would look like. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Tyler Cherry. Now, don't let this image fool you. Now, I know that it looks like a Dr. Seuss character, but there are certainly more important things to consider about. We'll put up a more safe photo. There we go. That's old Tyler Cherry, a little more safe there here on the live stream. So this individual who the White House decided to hire to work in their comms department has said a lot of really disturbing things in the past. So he said things like police are slave patrols and that voter ID are poll taxes, because minorities are too dumb to know how to get a free state ID, I guess, according to these winners. He also has said important things that, like for queer people of color and the intersectional role that race and sexuality play in police brutality, healthcare, etc., that we need to abolish the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Office. So this guy's just a real winner. He's said some extremely wild things, but he's got a gender studies minor. So, let's think about what's important to gotta have a gender studies degree. Very, very important stuff. He's formerly of Media Matters, and he's said some other extremely insane things. Suggesting that Trump is the embodiment of the white power movement. Of course, he's a big fan of the Russia collusion scandal that was, of course, fact-checked. Then thankful for Thanksgiving memories like last year when I ruined dinner by sparring with my uncle about systemic racism and police brutality. After the show, if you want to sign a card, we're sending a sympathy card to that man's uncle. That's got to be a rough holiday dinner to get through. Sorry, this picture I'm getting word that this picture might be just a little inappropriate. There's a better picture of the new comms official at the White House, Sam Brinton. By the way, he has come out and said that he's not responsible for any of his past tweets. So cancel culture's over, guys. Congratulations. You're not responsible for any of your past tweets. Brett Kavanaugh and his high school yearbook are very, very excited. This isn't to be fair though, this isn't exactly the first, home run winning official the Biden administration hired, checking boxes for weird gender or sexual quotas. Remember old Sam Brinton, the first non-binary federal official? Well, this guy, was, of course, later arrested for stealing women's luggage. Here you can actually see him wearing it. I'm not really sure what the skills Sam Brinton brought to the table are, but, here he is standing with Admiral and Assistant Secretary for Health of the United States Department of Health and Human Services, Rachel Levine, at a White House event, because, certainly the world's falling apart. And of course, we probably need any individual with a military title to be extremely focused and dedicated. So instead, there's two guys in skirts. Fantastic. On the racial side of things, the Biden administration is doing just as terribly. So when it comes to the Office of Civil Rights, so the office that deals with very important things like race discrimination issues, like domestic violence and abuse cases, those factor into civil rights. Kristen Clark, who is the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, has officially been, I want to make sure I get this right, she's officially been hit with 3 ethics complaint and a criminal referral on Monday. Why? Because she likely perjured herself when she hid her domestic abuse arrest, in which she went at her husband with a knife, from police. The Daily Signal's Mary Margaret Olahan reports. So, when you have an Office of Civil Rights official, especially one who is, I repeat, the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, you want someone who likely perjured herself before a Senate committee when they asked very blatantly, have you ever been arrested? And she said no. So super stellar stuff. Maybe, I don't know, it's just kind of a shocker, an idea. Maybe instead of walking around telling everyone that you're going to hire LGBTQ plus people, or you're going to hire women of color just because of their innate characteristics or whatever, or their sexual preferences or their color, or maybe you hire people based on skills. Just kind of a crazy idea. If the person happens to be gay, well then, yeah, I'm sure in their private life they'll be gay. If they happen to be black, okay, great. If they happen to be a woman of color who is gay, wonderful. I would hope that the person is qualified in far more ways than having the politically appropriate color, gender, and sexual requirement quotas. That I would actually be able to celebrate their accomplishments instead of who they're wearing this evening. And just, yeah. Kind of a thought for the family here this evening. We'll be back in just a second. Don't go anywhere. It's the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Attention, we have some delightful news, and it's kind of a big deal. Sign up for the first WIBC and 107.5 The Fan Pickleball Tournament, presented by Franciscan Health in the brand new air-conditioned Farmers Bank Fieldhouse in Lebanon, August 24th and 25th. Register your team to play at WIBC.com. Get in the game, but stay out of the kitchen.
Oh, I see what you did there.
With Franciscan Health and 93 WIBC.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you're looking for a deal that cannot be beat, get over to the friendliest folks you'll ever meet. Hey, it rhymed. Andy Moore Ford. The commercial truck center is currently undergoing big changes, which means bigger and better things for you coming soon. Stop by today, right there on Main Street in Plainfield, and get more savings, more selection, and more for your trade only at Andy Moore Ford. You're going to love it, and you'll see why other drivers love it too. You ready to go electric vehicle? Andy Moore Ford is the EV headquarters. Check out the Mustang Mach-E, the E-Transit, and that F-150 Lightning, all in stock with more arriving daily. And say hello to more rebates, federal and state incentives. You could save more on your EV purchase. Plus, with updated federal regulations, you can claim up to $7,500 instantly on site. We're talking about saving more with Andy Moore Ford. Your next car, your next truck. Talk to them about service as well and your electric vehicle. 2713 East Main Street in Plainfield, or online at Andy Moore, M-O-H-R.
I love Andy.
AndyMooreFord.com.
You expect your home to protect everything you love, but you don't expect the ways water is breaking down your basement and damaging your home. Mold, cracks, and of course visible water are just a few signs your basement is compromised. But there's one way to get answers to all your concerns. A free home inspection from Indiana Foundation Service. We put water back in its place. Get your free inspection at indianafoundation.com.
Life's full of unexpected joys, like problems with water. That's why there's Michaelis, a crew of 24/7 experts who are rescue ready, day or night, one phone call, for a gazillion disasters. Over 3 decades of restoring your home or business to better than new condition. Water, storms, fire, and wet basements. Life happens. Michaelis happens to help you through it. Call 844-FIX-INDY. Make it Michaelis.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
When life spells heartburn, how do you spell relief? ROLAIDS.
What about when life spells fried chicken?
ROLAIDS.
4th cup of coffee?
Still ROLAIDS.
Extra cheesy pizza?
Rolaids always spells relief. Rolaids' powerful dual-active formula begins neutralizing acid on contact to fight your heartburn fast. So, when life spells heartburn, Rolaids spells relief. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
There are 48 million unpaid family caregivers in the United States. Visit aarp.org/caregiving to access a free guide to help navigate your caregiving journey.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone.
Done.
By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Tony Kinnett Cast on 93 WIBC.
Welcome back to the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC. When you get to the end of the day, you might be an Amazon Prime member like myself. And I really enjoy keeping a hold of my Amazon Prime subscription for one reason and one reason only, and that is sometimes it's really nice to get that overnight delivery. I appreciate it here in the central Indiana area. We do have that lovely privilege of having enough of those warehouses nearby where most of the time we can get stuff in the next day or so. And that's an unpopular opinion because you're not supposed to like having an Amazon subscription, but I do, so sue me. That's not necessarily what this segment is about, though, because sometimes when you're filling that overnight order, you end up getting a little something. You know what I mean, Allison? Just a little treat. Just something cheap you think, maybe it's something we need. And you're trying to hit some kind of a minimum so you can get the free overnight instead of the 2-day shipping. You ever been there?
Oh, yeah. The recommended for you always gets me.
Oh, does it? I always get the same recommended for me. And it's like a bunch of baby stuff because, my wife uses the account and there's a lot of stuff that doesn't appeal. Then there's also expensive electronic stuff that I don't need and I'm not going to get. However, every once in a while, I find something that's inexpensive that still ends up being like something that I am just obsessed with, that I use all of the time, even though it's very, very inexpensive. And so that's what I wanted to go over you. Very important stuff while the world is, again, shoveling that powder keg full of all of the black gunpowder that it can. I want to talk to you about some really inexpensive purchases that you were obsessed with. For me, they were very long iced tea spoons, stainless steel, iced, so like little spoons with a really long handle. And Bethany got, a pack of 6 of them. And we love them. We use them all the time. They're the most convenient things on planet Earth. Oh, they're just wonderful.
Do you use it to stir your iced tea, or what do you use it for?
I don't use it for iced tea at all, actually, because if I'm going to drink tea, it's either going to be hot or it's going to be so sweet that Southerners would smack their lips in angst. As far as what we use it to stir for, everything. And you know how many tall glasses are such a pain to stir because you have to get the spoon down there awkwardly? No more with the long iced teaspoons. Everyone should have them. They're just a couple of bucks, and they're stainless steel. Perfect. What about you? You got any cheap purchases that made a big difference?
I don't think you'll relate to this, but it's this little container that's magnetic, and it's for your bobby pins. Because if your wife you may know this for your wife, but bobby pins are like socks. They just go missing and you find them randomly around the house and you don't know what to do with them. So I have this giant, basically little magnet that I have on my bathroom fridge or bathroom mirror now. So I can just throw them all on there and they just get stuck there and I never lose them again.
I do know exactly what you're talking about, but not for bobby pins, but for firearms. And the eagle screeches off in the distance. There is a rubberized magnet that basically makes a particular concealed carry point that, kind of uncomfortable to carry in some places when you're sitting down. So having it there, again, an inexpensive purchase that makes it a really efficient time. My last one that I have for you here, and I think that you are going to be a huge fan of this inexpensive purchase that made a massive difference. It is it's a refreshable lint brush. It's not like a lint roller, but it's like the kind of lint brush that when you're done, you can stick it back into the sleeve and then it pulls all of the lint in the hair and all of the other junk off.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
That's nice.
It's wonderful. Yeah. There are so many times, and you're like, well, why would I ever need something like that? Hey, look, when you've got kids and pets, you're getting ready to go to church, and you don't want your daughter to wind 8 feet off of the lint roller, you just take this brush out, you brush it down real quick. It's like $2. And it was so simple. And it's just, I use it all the time.
And no matter how many times you use that lint roller before you leave the house, you get in the car and you find more. So I'm with you on that.
I'll go one more thing. And this isn't an Amazon purchase, although it's in our cart right now. And I'm very proud of my wife for keeping an eye on these things. We went to, not Trader Joe's, Jungle Jim's in Cincinnati, the world's largest grocery store. And we were browsing around a little while ago, a couple years ago. And we wanted to eat some meat and cheese on the way home. And so we needed a knife to cut it in the car because, safety. And so we got this little tiny green plastic handled Victorinox Swiss little paring knife. Just like on this like little corner stand. It is sharper than any other knife we have in our kitchen. And I sharpen our knives. And we have some really nice steak knives and some like gorgeous ceramic knives my wife got me. I love using this stupid little cheap plastic knife. And now there's a pack of 4 of them I see sitting in our cart. And I'm very excited now that I might have more of these little knives. They're perfect. They're for fruit. They're for everything else. Shivving your prison cellmate. These Victoria knives are awesome. I'm not even a salesman for it. I'm just saying. I love it. Who knew that Swiss Army knife would actually make really good little kitchen paring knives? Is that good radio? I don't know. Cheap finds that you love are good. They're awesome. It's the heart of Midwestern pride, is getting a good deal and then using it every day. That's why I don't blend in at these like political functions. Someone's wearing some $1,200 suit with shoes that cost more than my house. And they're like, they look at their Rolex, and I'm like looking at my little Seiko automatic that's on a canvas strap. I don't know. I got a really good deal on it.
Well, I will say that's very Midwest. You are correct. It's like bringing up the weather. You can always find a conversation about a good deal with somebody.
Yeah.
Even if people don't ask you, they're like, "Oh, I like your shirt." You have to tell them how much you saved.
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't ask, but you need to tell them.
I used to have the Kohl's end of season sales like on my calendar.
Kohl's
it was
cash.
fantastic. Yeah. Now I just go to Goodwills because I get so many brand new shirts that have never been worn. Just over at Goodwill. It's fantastic. I will say that, I'm supposed to have like branded mugs or something for the show now. And I can't stop. This is like a little Scrabble mug I got in high school when the James Bond Casino Royale came out and they had like the new Q or whatever. I should really start throwing more stuff away and maybe get nicer stuff. Is this where people they have donors for? I need to reach out to some secret rich political person and sell part of my soul so they buy me some new mugs.
Get sponsorships for mugs now.
I'm still going to use the Victorinox little Swiss knives and my iced teaspoons, though. I'm not. To the day I die, be like, oh man, I really wish I had a spoon. I opened up my suit jacket and pull out a couple of spoons. I've got you right here, pal. Thank you for limping through that last segment with us. I swear, we talk about important things sometimes. We'll be with you tomorrow for some pre-debate coverage. This is the Tony Kinnett Cast here on 93 WIBC.
Hi, I'm Kay Diener. 34 years ago, my husband Bill and I